how's it going? It is I, your boy TJ, and Taurai Jack. Welcome to M5 Successful Friends. And today, like any other day, we bring you someone else who is successful. But this time around, we go internationally. Yes. And for some of you who've been wondering, what is international? It is not Swaziland. No, it's across the sea. Right. Further down the seas. And I bring you one of my boys called Muzzie. And Muzzie, he's a brother that we've been hanging out for a bit. And let me not steal his thunder and let me just introduce to you the guy with the hat. Muzzie, how's it going?
What's going on, TJ? How's things?
I'm all right, brother. Are you well?
Not bad, not bad. I have to be conscious my accent needs to show that it's not Swaziland, right?
you know where I come from, when you're talking about overseas, people don't comprehend what is overseas. Over a river could be defined as an overseas. So I just need to put it out there. Where are you based, Muzzie?
I am based in the United Kingdom in a small town called Nuneaton. So I'm in England right now.
Awesome stuff. I'm always telling people that, by heart, I am British because I was colonized by the British. So anything else that I know is very much British. So say hello to the Queen for me when you do see her sometime.
I will do.
Awesome stuff. Muzzie, you are in the property space, but who's Muzzie?
Right. So Muzzie is actually short. I mean, your normal audience will understand and pronounce my name correctly. Where I am, it's a bit of a struggle. So the full name is Muzingaye Nduna. And I am originally from Zimbabwe. I am currently based in the UK, in England. Came here when I was 17, back in 2004. Gosh, feels like a millennium ago now. Yeah. And like many other people from my background, we follow this blueprint that was actually just taught by our parents. Basically, you go to school, you finish school, you go to university, you go find a job that lines up with your whatever it is that you went to uni for, and actually just continue that way until you finally meet someone, you buy a house, you get a family, and so on and so forth. So I was following that blueprint, decided to go for engineering because it sounded like a manly thing to do, engineering. And majority of my boys were doing something similar. So I just wanted to be part of a group of some sort. So decided to do engineering. This was an apprenticeship. So I was fortunate enough to run my education whilst I was actually working, doing the exact same thing that I was actually learning. So I was guaranteed a job after the university actually finished, which is an unusual way to do things, but it was actually a lot better. Started climbing up the corporate ladder to a point where I was production manager for working for Jaguar Land Rover.
Yeah.
So, and then I had a bit of a switch, a bit of a twist about 2 years ago, where I had a niggling feeling somewhere in the back of my head, which kept asking me, is this it really? Is this what you want to be doing going forward? And then started asking myself other questions on what else is out there.
Yeah.
That's when I started trying to look at what else is out there, tried different things, looked at what other people are doing who are not in the standard corporate ladder. And I bumped into property. So that's how I got to start property.
And how did that actually happen? I mean, you speak of you are sitting in a space where many people would want to sit in. Number one, you're in UK. For a lot of Africans, just being in a first world country is just arrival. Already they start walking around with a placard that says I've arrived, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're out of the slums. And by the way, the slums, that's where the money is. And now you are there in the UK, and again, you land yourself in, like your bum is in butter here, bruh. You've got a very good job, and you are learning whilst you're on the job, and boom, you want to go and do something else. I mean, that sounds a little bit crazy to me, because you are in a country where if you are to come back home or if you are to come back anywhere in Africa, you are from a financial position, you are much stronger, and that's not enough for you still.
Very true. And everything you've mentioned there is absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Yes, the job that I was in was very secure. I mean, in the Midlands, in the UK, in the Midlands, that's where the manufacturing is based.
Right.
So not only is it Jackie Land Rover, it's Jackie Land Rover and all of their suppliers. And there's a massive chain in terms of supply chain there. I could literally jump from one job to another within days. It was a secure role. Now, why on earth would you want to step away from that comfortable position to throw yourself into a risky area which you don't even understand? And I feel that sometimes if you have that niggling question in the back of your head that is not satisfied, no matter how high up the corporate ladder you go, it's going to bother you and continue bother you. So I just had to try to find out what else is there. Find something else that I'm passionate about. So the big question there is passion. I was just flowing. Just flowing, nothing challenging me. Literally any task I was put into, I would just smash it out the park, as we call it. Just literally flowing through it. And there's no challenge. You feel like you've just completely wasted a day. You've gone to work, you've come back. What challenge have you had? Good job, yes. Very secure, yes. But then I've met those now. I've met those requirements. I've met those necessities. What's the next thing? And that's when I started questioning what else is out there. And I found a passion in property. And this is why I actually decided to jump into that.
Okay, so let's jump on to the fact that you are sitting in this comfortable position, and so you come back home. I know that you're married. I know a bit of your background. So you come back home, you're married, and you're like, babe, I would like to do something different. How did that go down with your missus? Because that didn't go well with my missus at first.
It's quite interesting that she's gonna end up watching this, but but I'm just gonna say it didn't go down very well. Sure. It didn't go down very well initially when I started throwing these ideas around. You can understand with any human, shake them out of a comfortable area, stepping out of the unknown, so to speak. Where's the income going to come from? How is that actually going to work? Do you even know what you're doing? Now, in different ways, those were the questions that were coming from me, towards me, not just from my partner, but also from the close-knit family. So in terms of the role that I was in, just as you've mentioned, it's a secure position, something to be proud of, and parents especially would actually go out singing about the fact that my son is an engineer and he's doing so well, he's graduated, he's done all this. And then I come and tell them that I want to step out of that. Didn't go down very well either. But I just had to. I just had to, for myself more than anything else. So I put myself in a position where it's a case of, if I stay here, everyone else will be happy for me, except for me.
Yeah. So,
I need to be in a,
So Muzzie, do you have siblings? Older, younger?
I do, yes. I've got 2 younger brothers and 1 older sister.
Right. Any of your siblings, are they engineers by any chance?
No.
All right.
No.
And any of your siblings, do they have any prominent positions, like being an engineer would know that?
No, not at all.
So here's my question, right, before you answer that, is you are the first one to go and break in to become the first person in your entire clan, the Nduna clan, to become something, and you come back and you hit a slap on your parents and like, I don't want to be this person anymore.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And that's where the major challenge was. But then it's not a case of, I don't want to be this role model that you've created of me. I want to be better than that.
Right. right.
So that's where I was pushing myself. It's good to be where I am, and I appreciate it, and I'm grateful for everything that I've been through, but it's no longer challenging. So what's the next step for me? What's the next level? And I found my next level, and I'm gonna go for it. Whether it works or it doesn't work, I'm gonna do it for me.
And I think I relate to what you're saying here quite a lot, because for me, I think the struggle was within, not outside.
Mm.
And if the struggle is within, you know yourself. You know that you have kind of like reached your cap, but you know with what you're doing now, but you know that there is more that you can do. But everyone else who's surrounding you is like, yo, this is great, you're amazing. And you're like saying, no, I haven't started yet, you know, because you know your capabilities. The dream in you is burning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But so dreams is one thing, right? And I want to jump into baby steps. So I'm a big fan of baby steps. Yeah, show me the mountain. Yes, we can get to it, but what is the baby step of us climbing it? And the question I want to ask you, Muzzie, is that you had the conversation at home with your missus because you married, and what were the baby steps that you started getting in to actually know that, you know, I don't want to be an employee anymore. I want to be something else that's different, and you are now gravitating to property. But how did you even get into property? Was there anyone in your family who was a property investor or was a developer? How did that come to be?
So in terms of property as it is, it's something, again, in that blueprint that I spoke about before. Once you get to a point where you're ready to move on and actually start a family, in that blueprint, there's buy a house.
Right.
Yeah. So we got to that point, we bought a house, and in the back of our heads, we've always known that owning houses and actually using houses to generate money is an ultimate goal, where to us, it's something that we had put so far out of reach. It's something that people who are super, super wealthy do, but we would wish to do it at some point later on. So the plan is graft as much as possible in your employment, create enough of a buffer to actually purchase another house, which will start actually working for you. That's something we always had in our head, but it was such a long-term thing, maybe 20, 25 years. However, at the point I started questioning what it is that we're doing and what is that I'm doing and how I'm going forward with my life, there was no one else in my family or in my wife's family who had been doing anything property related, so to speak, in terms of different strategies.
Yeah.
It's just a case of we bought our houses, which are houses that we actually live in. However, I bumped into a friend of ours mentioned a property training course.
Right.
So initially I was thinking, well, what exactly are they going to teach us in terms of property training? You just raise a deposit, you work and work, raise a deposit, buy a house, and do the same thing over and over again. So what else is there to learn? But because I was thinking that I need to change my course, I needed to be educated. So I need to pick up as much education as possible. And that first property training course that I went to absolutely turned my life upside down, I'm telling you. The information that I picked up there, I could not believe that that stuff was actually available. I could not believe that people are actually doing that. So that was the spark. So the niggling question was there, and I wanted to gravitate towards doing something else. I just didn't know the how. And then that course kind of made it a little bit clearer, and I just went for it.
So Muzzie, I remember when I went in for my first training, and it was in a very nice small hotel, and the food was nice, and I could not enjoy the food because of the information that was coming through into my space, because at that time, I had just been losing quite a bit of money from my farming business. So I was in debt, like seriously in debt at that time. And everything else that was being taught in the class was things that I could have easily implemented, and I would have seen the horizon of my wealth at a very different space in about a year or 2 years, had I not been in the farm. And with that, I was like, what the hell? Why did I even go through that road? But I didn't leave the negativity of this has happened. I just accepted it. Say, well, this is where I am in life now. But the vast of information that came through to me in terms of what you can do, the possibility, I couldn't sleep for about 3 days in a row. Like I just couldn't. And for me, when I was being trained at that particular time, one of my challenges was that we were being trained with UK-based people. They would fly down to South Africa, and they would speak a lot about the UK market, right? So a lot of the terminology was very much geared around the UK, and being knowing some of the terminology, I was aware of it, and I could easily connect to what it means in South Africa.
Yeah.
But I think one of my biggest challenge came in like, but how come we're not doing this in South Africa? And that's what kept me awake. I'm like, so how many more other people actually do this in South Africa? And can we actually do it? Is it actually allowed to? So I went into my own little bubble of thinking, and I think I got stuck somewhere around the fact that these things do happen in the UK, but potentially they don't happen in South Africa.
Yeah.
Right? And after a while, I did my training in December. So the whole of December I was kind of like stuck in my own thinking. But in Jan, I started now kind of like just saying, I had a spreadsheet, literally a spreadsheet. And I would write the British terminology, and I would go on the internet, I would find the local terminology. Right? And I realized that, no, hold on. These things are happening in our market. I just need to find or to relate to how locally it's being done. And from there on, Muzzie, I started actually just gravitating to a whole lot of stuff from the UK, from the US. And my job now was almost, how can I make this happen in my own community? So that was my own struggle within my first 90 days. And after getting through the course, and that's a stumbling block for me. But when you went through for your course, did you go on for the training? Did you attend on your own? Did you attend with your missus?
I actually took my wife and sister-in-law with me, yeah.
Oh, wow. You are the genius, because a lot of people go on their own. They come back home to explain this. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's an absolute mission, and I'm glad I actually took her with me. So when we decided to actually pay for the supporting course afterwards, I didn't have to come back to explain why I've spent so much money.
I like the fact that you're disclosing that you had to pay so much money. I mean, for me, it was quite a bit of money that we paid in there, which could be a stumbling block for a lot of people, but you didn't look at it that way. You
Not at all.
paid.
Not at all. Now, I actually further on did even more courses and actually paid even more money. And a lot of times, this is a conversation we have with quite a few people around here about how much money you spend on training courses.
Yeah.
And I think at some point you have to pay. So you either pay for the education or you pay for the mistakes. So you need to decide which one it is that you want to pay for. So I don't see it as money that is actually put away that I could be doing something else with. It's an absolute investment, because the money that I can make from the knowledge that I pick up from that is more than what it is that I'm actually going to pay for the education. So if paying £100 is going to make me 4,000, I will pay 4,000 to triple and quadruple the money that I'm going to make out of it. So I don't look at the training money that I've spent as anything negative, because it's brought me to where I am.
I like the fact that you say that either way you're going to pay.
Mm,
I mean, you're a little bit shy there, but I think either way you're going to pay for it.
absolutely.
It's either in the mistake, which can be very expensive,
Mm-hmm.
or just go and pay for whatever course it is, learn from the people that are doing it, and get your successes. But along the journey, when you're starting off, what were your kind of like stumbling blocks? Was there anything that held you back, especially when you're starting off?
Yes, yes, and there's quite a few things actually.
Yeah,
Um, but I would say the one that stands out the most, and quite a lot of people will relate to this, is the fear of failing.
right.
So, especially in my position where it all looks like it's going well. Now, bear in mind, it is actually going well. I'm employed, really secure job, getting paid very well. I've got the education, I've got the qualifications. I can move from one job to another. I'm in a really good position. And as you mentioned, to top it off, I'm in a first world country where opportunities are just everywhere. Yeah. And I decide to jump off that rail and into the unknown. So when the close family, the close friends, and even people that don't know me say, "What on earth are you doing?" The last thing you want is to jump off the rails into the unknown and actually fail, and then come back with your tail between your legs to think, "Okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that." But when you're actually in a position where you know this is what you want to do, failure or success, you know this is exactly what you want to do. I put myself in a position where I will deal with the failure if there is a failing. And for me, whatever it is, I either earn or I learn. So it's not actually a failure. So I'm not a failure because I failed. I'm actually a success because I tried. And this is how I look at it going forward. But that was my biggest holdback, the fear of going back to people and saying, yeah, it didn't work. I had to work through that by reading a lot. I actually did quite a lot of reading,
Yeah,
and learning that in terms of getting rid of the failure of doing something, the best way to do it is to actually do it.
sure.
There's no point in talking about it. There's no point in contemplating. The best way to get rid of that fear is to just go for it and actually do it. And the more I did it, and like you said, baby steps. So I speak to other people that have done it before, see what they've done, try it. If it doesn't work, I try something else, but slowly getting myself into it and pushing my boundary levels, pushing my comfort zone, and essentially reducing that fear of failure. Because the more times I do it, the more experience, the more knowledge, the more of a network I actually build. And this is how I actually pushed through that fear. But that was my one outstanding pullback. The one thing that was holding me back is the fear of failing.
So so there you are. You've got this fear in you,
Mm,
and you're going into an unknown territory because no one in your family and your surroundings were doing property, and
mm,
you choose that this is going to be my line of financial freedom,
mm,
right? And the question that I want to ask there is, out of everything else that you could have done, selling Tupperware and become the next CEO of Land Rover in the UK. I mean, you're quite young to be a production manager, right?
mm.
And so the doors are still so many doors for you, so many ladders to climb for you. But you choose property. And the question there is, why property actually?
Mm. So property, out of all the asset classes, is something that I actually found passion in. So
Okay.
that's the main reason I actually found passion in it. So in terms of how I wanted to live my life, I wanted to generate a level of passive income. So after doing a bit of reading, when I was thinking about what else can I do besides rely on my income coming from my wages, what else can I do? I
Yeah.
started learning about passive income. Um, getting paid even when you're not actually doing anything. And I tried to find out what other asset classes are there that I can actually invest in, that I can learn about and get involved in, that can actually get me paid without having to go somewhere to do something. And out of all the ones that I looked through, the Forex trading, buying and selling of stuff, stocks and bonds, property is the one that I actually fell in love with. So as part of my job in the production management role, continuous improvement was one of the things that I was really strong at. So it was a passion of mine of looking at a process or looking at an area, finding ways to improve it, and just marveling at the result afterwards, and enjoying the concept of presenting, this is what it was like, this is what it is now, these are the benefits, and this is where we are. And out of the asset classes, property is the only one I feel I can actually do that for. So when I actually find a property in a certain state, or if I find a client, a vendor, or a landlord in a certain situation, and I use my knowledge, my resource, my strategies, I call it my toolbox that actually fits with the problem that they have, the property problem, and then come to the other side and actually go through, this is where we were, this is what we did, this is where we are now. I still use the same concept, and I'm absolutely passionate about that. So this is why I actually went for property.
I like that. You got trained. I mean, if I look back at it, it wasn't intentional, but now you're utilizing the skills that you got from your employer. You're playing in your happy space, which is, you redefining processes and making them better. And that's awesome. But so what do you focus on? Because there's many types of property, or should I say strategies and things like that. But what do you focus on in property?
So my main focus is on rent to rent. That's one of the strategies. So what I actually picked up on from all the strategies that I learned in all the different courses that I've been to. So you've got the rent to rent, service accommodation, houses in multiple occupancy, the standard buy to let, commercial conversion, and all that. Out of all the ones that I was looking at, I was more drawn to the no money down strategy, so to speak. Okay. And I was firstly fascinated by the fact that people actually get involved in property without any money at all. And then secondly, I had no choice because I didn't have the money. So I had to actually get involved in those strategies. The little money that I had, I spent it on actually getting involved in these courses. So to be able to start, I couldn't wait to go back to work and start building another pot. I wanted to get involved. So I stuck to those strategies. So rent to rent is one of those strategies. So none or little money down strategies. So I do rent to rent for serviced accommodation mainly, but I also have rent-to-rent deals for houses in multiple occupancy. Okay,
so let's break it down for my community down here in South Africa. If you don't know what is serviced accommodation, it's literally a house that is fully kitted, fully renovated, fully furnished, and you're kind of like just walking in with your handbag or your suitcase. You live in, and you pay your rent. And you guys do what? Weekly rent, monthly rent?
So we're actually charging on a nightly basis here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that work?
So we charge hours on a nightly basis and actually treat the house as if it's actually a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually put the house on standard OTAs, which is online travel agents, i.e. Airbnb, booking.com, lastminute.com, and all that stuff. So you put it out there and it actually competes with massive hotels. That's the benefit of serviced accommodation here. You don't have to do the £1 million marketing like what the big hotels would do. You just put it on those platforms and you challenge them. Now, the advantage of a serviced accommodation to a hotel is in a hotel, you get the hotel room and the toilet, but you've got nothing else essentially, and you'll have to actually buy out to bring your food in. Whereas for around about the same price or maybe slightly more, you can have the entire house. It's fully kitted, very nicely done to a very high standard. And it's one of those dream houses. You can actually go live your dream kind of scenario for a night, for 2 nights. And that's what serviced accommodation is actually essentially for. It's that convenience of everything is there. Walk in, a night, 2 nights, you can stay for a week or whatever, but then being charged on a nightly basis, and it's continuously cleaned by your cleaning team, essentially, just like what you would with a hotel.
I'm on an Airbnb, so in our business we do Airbnb, not full time. So we do Airbnb for our coastal properties, but only for the holiday breaks. And I'm on this Facebook group, and I remember not so long ago, someone was horrified with the fact that, so they run an Airbnb, and someone, they hired the whether it was a room or a house, whatever the case was, and apparently this couple was literally there for like a couple of hours, and they booked for the whole day and night, but they were there for like an hour and then they left. So, and this lady was saying that this is utter rubbish. How can they do that? They use my house as a whole house. And I'm sure you get lots of that. Does that bother you as a landlord?
I have to be honest, rightly or wrongly, I would rather that. So you come in and you actually stay for an hour or two, a minimal amount of cleaning required. Therefore, the cleaners will come in for less time and I'm paying them less. And you pay for the entire night. Come on, let them come to my houses.
I suppose you can then still book it again, right?
Exactly. And then you open the calendar and actually get another couple of people. You potentially have 2 clients in the same night paid for twice.
That's exactly what I thought, Muzzie. But anyways, people have different values, and but I just wanted to jump in, Muzzie. You're a family guy. You're married, and I mean, I started knowing you back in the days without no beard at all, and and look at you now. But I want to jump in to the fact of your business that you're running now is demanding in terms of effort, right? Whether you've got a team or no team, and I'm hoping that you've got a team, and I would like us to jump into that a little bit. And whether you've got a team, the stuff still needs to be done, and you still need to be looking after all of your investment. The first question that I want to ask you is, you mentioned that when you're doing rent to rent, it's a no money deal. I get confused a little bit when you say it's a no money deal, because you are going to pay rent. You are going to pay rent, and I don't know whether you also need to pay deposits. So it almost sounds like there's a minimum entry level. But are you renting out properties that already have furniture in them? Because then potentially you might now need to put in furniture in there. I'm just trying to see how does it work, because if I go and rent out a house today, in our market, they're going to ask for deposit. They're going to do credit checks on me. I'm going to need to pay 1 month's rent. And here, the market for furnished accommodation, for me to rent it like that, very rare. It is there. But normally you'd get an empty house. So that means that I now need to buy furniture.
Yeah.
How do you work around that?
Okay. So when we say no money down, it's no or little money down.
Sure.
Okay. And then when I actually make it a no money down deal, that doesn't mean there's no money required whatsoever. It means it just doesn't have to be your money.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the strategies that we work on, so we split it into 3 different strategies, 3 main strategies. So we do the 70-20-10. 70% of the time we're working on rent-to-rent deals, whether it's for service accommodation or HMOs. 20% of the time we're deal packaging. And the reason why we deal package that, i.e. find deals, sell them onto other people, or find deals, send them to other people. Right. So that's deal sourcing. And the reason we do that is when we find a deal, ideally for us, a rent-to-rent, and then it doesn't tick all of our boxes, you can still actually monetize that deal. You don't have to let go of it.
Sure.
So find someone who actually would want that deal, sell it on. That's the 20%. The last 10% is joint venture finance. So this
Okay.
is where we actually get people that have funds, but are not interested in managing properties. They're not interested in getting involved in finding deals, but they want to be part of property. So they
Right.
put the money in for us. So I find a deal, a rent-to-rent deal, it's going to need maybe £5,000. I get someone to put the £5,000. I manage everything, set it all up, and then
Yeah.
we split the profits, or I actually pay that 5,000 back after a certain amount of time with an agreed interest. So essentially, I've just been involved in that entire process without spending a penny of mine, and it's no money down for me, although there's money that's been transferred.
I like that. I like that. I just want to jump on into the next question where it's evident that you've got kids. We can hear the background music. It's great. And I love that. You are at a close proximity to your kids right now. And you still have a business that's running. And I want to almost come to a question to say, how do you manage the two? Because both of them are demanding. Look at my dad. He I wasn't even born and then he disappeared. He was afraid of managing, but he planted. You know what I mean? And in your case, the kids are there and you're managing the other business there. It's also demanding. How do you juggle those two, especially in an environment where you actually don't have anyone else who's journeyed what you're journeying now? Because everyone has always been, you go to work, you go to school, you go to work. So people always remove themselves from the family and they're at work.
Correct.
And then they come back a little bit later. But you are in the mix of this. Like, for instance, now my office is at home. My kids can just walk into the door right now. Right? And my missus can just call in from the other side of the house where she's in her office and she could ask something. How do you manage all of that?
So you probably understand this. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. However, I look at it as an absolute blessing. So if I were to compare it with the period where I was in employment, I have to leave. I was working different shifts, morning, afternoon, and night shift. So morning shift, I need to be out of the house by 5 o'clock in the morning, and I don't come back till after 3. Afternoon shift, I'll probably leave around 1 o'clock. I won't come back until about 11. So if I were to follow those shifts, I'm taken away from the family completely. And with some shifts like the night shift, whether I'm actually at work or not, either way, you don't see me, because when I'm at home, I'm asleep. And when you're awake, I'm at work. And it's one of those difficult periods where I'm generating income. I'm doing all of this for you. And it's difficult for a child to understand. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for our family. I'm generating this income. But there's no point in all of that, in having that high life and bringing all the funds in, when I can't spend time with you. So when I'm actually able to generate income and actually do it when I'm close by, even if you can just see me sat here doing some work, and I can carve out 5 minutes, I can carve out 10, 15 minutes, and then come back and focus on my work, that for me is a blessing. Whereas before I couldn't do that.
You've hit the nerve there, bruh, because that has been one of my highest moment of winning. People ask me, TJ, Taurai, are you making money? And I'm like, it's not about money for me. Yes, I like the money, but it's not really about money for me, because when I was employed, I've got a young, beautiful wife. I've got 2 kids, and I used to do 2 to 3 weeks in Africa. I'm in South Africa, but like going deeper in, I used to like go Ghana, Kenya, Zambia, all of those countries. But I would spend there like 2 to 3 weeks. And all of that time, let's just assume if one of my kids was just about to be, maybe start walking, I would miss that. Right? Just about 2 days ago, my eldest son, he jumps into the shower with his goggles on. I'm like, what are you doing? And he says he doesn't like the water going into his eyes. So that's why he's wearing his swimming clothes. I'm like, this is crazy. Had my wife called me over the phone and explained this to me, I might have not even got it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but why? That doesn't make sense. But I get to have all these moments with them. And for me, that is one of my biggest successes in terms of my journey in property. I am there. I can still be able to provide food on the table, and we can all do life. And besides that, are there any other benefits that you started seeing that have started mushrooming up for you?
The journey of property, yes, it is mainly about property. Muzzie is doing this property thing. He's always yapping on social media about property. However, the journey has taken me into what I would class as personal development.
Right.
Yeah. It's got me to learn a lot about Muzzie.
Yeah.
Things that I didn't actually know about myself. Yeah. And what I have learned about me and the benefits of all of the surroundings that came with the challenges are something that I'm actually starting to see. And I'm looking at it back at, if I was back in this age, what would I want to tell myself based on what I've learned now? What exactly would I say to myself? And I'm thinking, since I can't go back to the young Muzzie and tell him, I can actually start telling my kids.
Come on.
And actually start teaching them as we're going along.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing. We laugh about certain terminology. My daughter is always saying property investor. And it's something that we laugh about. As she grows, I want her to learn this. I want her to know about it. And then she will still have her choice on what she wants to do, but then she will be educated. So not just the standard formal education, it's more about the personal and self-education that's actually really powerful. And then you get a choice and a wider variety of what else is actually out there. Because I felt personally from my background, there's benefits to the formal education that I've had, but then it blocked me off. It tunnel visioned me to the little possibilities that are there. These are the only options you've got, Muzzie. There's nothing else that's out there. Based on your education, this is all you can do. So I feel like I was completely trained to be a perfect employee, and that's all that was out there for me. So the only options that I had was either that job or that job or that job or that job. Nothing else out there until I actually started getting into Muzzie. What else is Muzzie capable of? And if he's capable of more than what's in this vision, let's have a look on the outside and see what's actually available. Let's see what he can do. And that's when I threw myself out to the sharks, so to speak, and seeing if I can swim. And there I am.
Look, what you've just said now, right? That's the reality of our education system. It's designed to produce a certain type of a person, the employee, right? At the back of that, so the government goes on and infusing money into education system, and we all go into school. And out of that, how do they guard themselves to make sure that they get returns? You become an employee, and you get an employee. Down here, if you are earning the highest level of income, they hit you with up to 45% of taxes. It goes through to the government first before it hits your pocket. Whereas the relationship is very different if you're to start off a business. And you start off the business, the tax bracket is very little. But again, they don't take the money before expenses. They wait for you to take off expenses in your business, and then they claim. So.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. So with the corporate, you spend it first and then they tax you. As an employee, they tax you, and then whatever's left is what you actually take home.
It took me a bit of time to figure that out. And when I figured that out, Muzzie, I was kind of like upset for a season. Because I was thinking, hey, I'm earning R1 million. So in a nutshell, before I even get this R1 million, they're getting 450. Like I'm going 50-50 with the government here. I'm doing all the effort.
It makes no sense. You work for the government from January to May before you actually get anything. It's absolutely mad.
But it's not the government's fault. It's my decision. And when I figured that out, I was like, hell no, I'm out of here. No more employee. I gotta be an employer. Let me create jobs for other people. Yeah. Muzzie, I'm gonna come to the end of the conversations that we're having, but quite intrigued with your journey. Well done. And how far are you now? How many properties are you managing on your rent-to-rent transactions that you've been involved now in your sourcing business? You've been at it for 2 years now, solid.
Yes, it's actually 2 years solid, but we need to note that in the 2 years, we actually started from the point that I actually went for my training for the first time. It was 10 months, 10 straight months, nothing at all. Just networking, trying to find deals, getting
10 months.
10 straight months. So pretty much most of the year gone, nothing, just paying for courses, going up and down the country, doing networking, trying to build some rapport, learning.
Mine was 2 years.
Wow. Wow.
And then after that, I got the training, and then my learning curve after my training was 6 months. And that frustrated me hard. I knew exactly what to do. I knew how to do it. I thought I was doing it correctly, but there was just no deal on the table.
Yeah. And it was a painful period. That's where the naysayers absolutely hit me big time, where they were like, we told you. Look, what have you done now? You call yourself an investor. What have you got, Muzzie? What have you got? It's a painful process, brother. I'm telling you. But I just knew that I'm not in it for the instant gratification. If it's something that you believe in, you stick to it. Go through the pain. And those naysayers now, they come back to me and say, "How did you do it?" And that's beautiful. That for me is like, okay, now we can talk.
Yeah. I want to quickly, like in a summary. So on the properties that you've got now, how do you manage that? So you get the property, it's a rent to rent. Just make it practical in terms of baby steps, right? Yeah. And how do you get it to be on Airbnb? And you've got a team that's working behind that. So how many properties there, right? You got the team here, and there's you on the other hand, who's the captain of all of this. But as the property is coming in, how is that all working?
Okay, so starting off, if I actually break it down to just what I was doing, so being the only person in the team, property coming from either the online agents, or you can find it directly from a landlord, or just standard networking. You find the deal, you work out the numbers, it ticks all the boxes, you set it up, put the funds in that are required to set it up, and putting it on Airbnb is a very simple process. So you take all the really nice pictures, and because the pictures are what actually sell the house. Sure. Take really nice pictures, upload them on Airbnb. That process can be done within a day. And you're live.
Do you use a specialized photographer for that?
Yes, and I would recommend this, people. Don't just take standard pictures off your camera, because that's how people decide. So firstly, take a lot of pictures, upload a lot of pictures, and secondly, they need to be very nice pictures, ideally edited. And also take really fancy things like having a wine glass with a wine bottle, a tray with croissants and stuff like that. Stuff that people know they won't find at the property, but it's nice to see.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have all of that. Keep them on your profile for as long as possible. That increases the chances of them booking that house. So you keep them there by making the pictures look nice and increasing the number of pictures. And that actually increases the chances. So once it's actually on there, before COVID, you could just actually bet on the fact that within a week or so you'll get bookings and you start running.
Yeah.
Since COVID, online travel agents are not dependable anymore.
Right.
People are not actually moving that much, and I think that's actually just worldwide. So
Yeah.
our level of marketing has had to shift. So
Right.
you can't put a property on Airbnb and hope for the best. You will just pay rent and no one will come into your house.
Oh.
We had to shift and work out how else to actually reach people. Now there's two main customers when it comes to Airbnb or service accommodation, we call it here. You've got the tourist, the standard TJ and his family. They just want to go somewhere and stay for a weekend and then they come back. And then you've got the contractor, the TJ on his own, who's got a project in a certain area, stays there for a month, 2-3 months, doesn't want a hotel. He wants to cook his own stuff. He wants to go to the groceries, buy his own food, make his own food, and stay there. So he's got the whole house. Ideally, what you want is the contractor, because the contractor will stay for longer and still pay the nightly rate.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we started doing is reaching out to contractors. Now there's other agents that not many people in England actually know about, where you can actually go there. Contractors, companies go to those agents and say, we're looking for properties. You then go and register a property with that agent, and those agents just put us together. They take a fee, obviously, just like what Airbnb will do, just like booking.com. But once you've got that contractor for the first time, it is now your responsibility to build rapport with them and make sure they come back to you and cut the middleman out.
Okay.
Not only them, but also the people that they know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And actually the next thing there that is now more important is your service offering. Your service offering and your custom service when they are on site.
Absolutely. Make it unique, make it rememberable, make them want to come back even if they weren't coming for work.
Yeah.
Stand out.
Okay.
So we had to do such things, and it worked for us during the lockdown period, which we feel blessed about.
Awesome stuff. Muzzie, if I'm to ask you this question here, to say, before, with everything that you now know today, and what is the one thing that you think you probably underestimated before you came into property, but that thing is actually key? What would that be?
So what would be the one thing I underestimated?
Yeah. Or you're totally oblivious to it?
Mm-hmm. So I would say self-education.
Right.
Now, I listen, absolutely love the likes of Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Getting to know me and what I'm capable of.
Right.
And that is extremely, from my point of view, extremely underestimated. It's something that if I fully understood it earlier on, I would be far further off in life, because in all the things that I thought I wasn't capable of and just tried to break barriers and step out of my comfort zone and try them and absolutely conquered, I'm thinking, how much more of that could I have done a long time ago if I actually believed in myself? Awesome. So that for me is the one key thing of which, if I were to go back and speak to my younger self, I would say, believe in yourself a lot more than what you do now.
And yet it's not even a conversation that, look, I think for me, it is never a conversation that I've never had with my parents. It's probably I had to borrow it from somewhere, I think probably in my 30s or something like that. I'm like, Taurai, you've got this. You can do this. You know, it started off from having self-conversations. I'm always telling my son, don't listen to my conversations. I'm talking to myself, you know. You've got this. And that has all come from learning, and putting out different ideas. So Muzzie, thanks a lot for being here with us. But before you go, any favorite books, business book?
Oh, yes.
My book.
I was gonna say that book that I see behind you is absolutely fantastic. But one of my absolute favorite books, it's by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, which one?
Yes, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. I absolutely love it. And I saw a picture of you and your wife with Robert Kiyosaki, and I was like, I'm super jealous, man. That man is an absolute legend.
He is. He is.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that he is, reading is something, spending time with him is freaking scary and amazing.
I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine.
I mean, I spent 10 days with him last year in winter, and then he was just talking about you gotta have a plan B in life. In anything that you do, you gotta have a plan B. I mean, to put it in layman terms here, I'm married to Jenna. Can she leave me tomorrow? She can.
Mm-hmm.
So what's my plan B? To just put it on that layman terms.
Yeah.
You've got this business that you've got, but what's your plan B?
Mm.
Right? We all think that UK is great, but what's your plan B? And to me, my walk away in that training was that a coin we've always thought of it to have two sides, the head and the tail. But I discovered that it's actually three sides that the coin has. So it's the head and the tail and the edge.
Yeah.
And the guy who's sitting on the edge always wins. Because he's seeing what is happening on both sides of the coin, so he's prepared on what's going to happen.
Either one, yeah.
So if you're a trader, you know what's going to happen there, so you're going to buy.
Yeah.
Right? And you can see what's happening on the other side, so you're going to sell.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
so if you know where the country is going, you can make the preparation of where it's going. And if you know in your town where Land Rover is going to be buying its next sites, you can already start buying or renting out the places there before Land Rover pitches up there. And you're going to make money.
Absolutely.
And I was like, wow. So information is key. The bottom part of it, information is key. And knowing how to manipulate the information and interpret it to yourself and to your business, to your life. That's power.
Absolutely. And actually implementing it.
100%. My last question, what separates those that are successful in real estate, in your view? I mean, you've been hanging out with some people there. And,
yeah.
What's your view there?
So the main thing I would say that separates those who are successful and not successful in property on our side is those who stop and those who keep going.
Awesome.
So
I like that.
We have this, I mentioned it earlier on, we have this sense of instant gratification. You want to learn about property today and start making millions next week.
Yeah.
And that concept is absolutely ridiculous. Now, even if it works, it's not going to last, because the pain that you go through in those failures absolutely builds your muscles. It absolutely builds you mentally. You're then prepared. You become a millionaire, not because you have a million, but because you know how to make a million.
Come on.
That's the difference. Now, when people actually try something in property, few weeks, few months, and think this ain't working, and they stop, that's the failure. When you stop, you don't fail when you've lost money, you fail when you stop. And if you don't stop, property is a forgiving business. You will make your money back. And that's where the success comes from.
I like that. And for Muzzie, what does success mean for you?
For me, success is actually the journey. It's I've got my goals. I've got my goals stuck up on the wall, see them every day. I know what it is that I want to make. I know what it is where I want to reach. I know what my portfolio looks like, but I'm not going to say I'm successful when I reach that. I'm successful as I'm going along. the phone call I had last night from a lady who got her first deal from my advice, that's success to me. Joyous. I celebrate that as if I've actually bought a new car. The fact that my network is growing as I'm going along, the next 10 people that join my network, it's success for me. I celebrate that as if it's the best thing ever. So the success for me is the journey, not the destination.
Awesome stuff. I love that. Muzzie, thanks a lot for gracing us with your IP all the way from England. And like I did say earlier on, you know, when the Queen passes by, send her my regards, say TJ, send her hellos. And that's number one. And then number two, to your success, my guy. I think, you know, there is no limit. Well done on your journey so far. I've been checking you out, you know, for a season in terms of what you're doing. And you're pushing hard. You're pushing hard.
I appreciate it, bro.
And there's just a whole lot of stuff that's coming through your way. So thanks a lot for being on our channel. And where can people find you?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms. So Muzzie _Nduna on Instagram, Muzzie Nduna on Facebook, Muzzie Nduna on LinkedIn as well. And I am actually on Twitter as well as Muzzie25. So reach out, people, reach out. Let's have a chat. I enjoy talking about property. We can talk for ages. So reach out.
The next thing that I want us to talk through, and I want this to be intentional a little bit, is we speak about this plan B that I've always been talking about. And people within our community, what I'd like us to do is to start having intentional conversations of how can we South Africans invest there, even in small amounts of monies, right? And having someone like you in our community, we can see you, we can touch you, we know who you are. And you can be the gatekeeper of our rands converted into US, converted into pounds, and you can then be reporting back to us. And that's something that I think we can trigger out of some of these conversations, and we gotta do it intentionally. That's what we gotta do.
Absolutely. I mentioned to you earlier on that 10% of our business is joint venture financing. So the benefits of the investor who's already in the UK is just their interest. But then for someone who's outside of the UK, there's further benefits of the fact that the currency is slightly different. You actually benefit just by moving money. So that's on top of that. So absolutely, that would be beautiful. That would be absolutely fantastic. It's something that we're looking to do as well in the future. Okay.
Awesome stuff, Muzzie. Take care and God bless.
Thank you very much, CJ. Take care.
Cheers, man. Bye.